describes that, at least the place part of it, and it gives a badal for it. Hada'iq, gardens. And you know, hadiqa is an interesting word in Arabic. It refers to a garden that has a high fence, like a tall wall or a high fence around it. So it's a private kind of garden. Nobody else has access, it's yours only. Okay, this is hadiqa as opposed to Jannah. It's a little bit different. Okay, and then also hada'iq, one of the words that's related to is hadaqa, which literally refers to the pupil of the eye because it's surrounded by beautiful color. So it's a garden surrounded by beauty. That's one of the implications of this garden. So hada'iq, multiple gardens, wa-a'naba, and grapes. So this is a food that has drink in it already, right? So two things in one, subhanallah. Wa-kawa'iba atraba. Kawa'ib is the plural of ka'ib. Ka'ib is a gorgeous or really beautiful young woman, and they've been described as atraba, that there will be multiple of them for the believers, the hur, and the atrab means that they will be equal in age, or they will be the right companions, the most compatible form of companions, atraba. And then Allah says, وَكَأْسًا دِهَاقًا. And ka's in Arabic, nowadays it means a cup, or it means a glass. In classical Arabic, ka's was only used when the glass is full of wine or some expensive drink. That's the only time they would use ka's. Otherwise they would use other words for a glass. So here we find ka'san dihaqa, meaning these glasses will be full of expensive or exotic kinds of drinks. And then dihaqa, sparkling and splashing, meaning that the color of the drinks will be exotic and it will be splashing, like a party taking place, basically. Then Allah says, لا يسمعون فيها لغوا ولا كذابا. Subhanallah. They will not hear in fiha, meaning in those gardens, they will not get to hear لغوا ولا كذابا. Lahu means useless talk. Useless talk. And kidhab is when someone lies against someone else. Why is it that these two things Allah specifically mentions? In the beginning of the surah there was عَمَّا يَتَسَاءَلُونَ عَنِ النَّبَإِ الْعَظِيمِ الَّذِي هُمْ فِيهِ مُخْتَلِفُونَ. This was lahu. They were making useless talk about the akhirah. Allah says, don't worry believers, when you get there, you won't have to hear any of this. وَلَا تَسْمَعُنَّ مِنَ الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْكِتَابَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ وَمِنَ الَّذِينَ أَشْرَكُوا أَذًى كَثِيرًا. In this dunya, in Ali Imran, Allah says, you will get to hear a lot of painful things. You will have to endure a lot of painful words from the kuffar. Even the messenger is told, فَاصْبِرْ صَبْرًا جَمِيلًا. Just have sabr, beautiful sabr in this life. وَاصْبِرْ عَلَى مَا يَقُولُونَ وَهْجُرْهُمْ هَجْرًا جَمِيلًا. Be patient over what they're saying. Here Allah is telling us, don't worry about it. When you get there, you won't have to hear any such nonsense. لَا يَسْمَعُونَ فِيهَا لَغْوًا وَلَا كِذَّابًا. And then the other thing they get, the believers who are working for the deen, you know what they hear all the time? They hear kidhab. They hear kidhab in the media. They hear takdeeb when people lie against the messengers and spread false rumors about them and insult them. They hear things about the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is all kidhab. These are painful things that the believer hears. So Allah says they won't be tortured with these kinds of words anymore. لا يسمعون فيها لغوا ولا كذابا جزاء من ربك. And all of these beautiful depictions, first Allah says جزاء من ربك. Now notice when it came to the kuffar, Allah says جزاء وفاقا. And He stopped. Wifaq means exact. Not more, not less, exact. Allah did not say wifaq for Jannah. Why? Because He will give us what we deserve and also more. Right? So He says jaza'an min rabbik. Then here He says min rabbika. Rabb al-sayyid wal-murabbi wal-murshid. Right? Wal-mu'ti, the one who gives, the one who takes care of, the one who provides, the one who nourishes, the one who creates. All of these positive terms or connotations are included inside the word Rabb. It's a merciful word. Rabb was not used with them. Allah said jaza'an wifaqan min rabbihim. No min rabbihim. There's no mention of the Rabb because there's no mention of mercy next to them. Here Allah mentions His mercy, min Rabb. But He didn't just say from the Lord or Rabbis samawat, that's later, min rabbika, from your Lord, O Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And we know when Allah speaks to His messenger, those are the most merciful places in the Quran. So another degree of mercy has been added because Allah didn't just say Rabb, He said Rabbika, your Lord, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Then He added two more words. These are very beautiful words. We already know there's going to be more because He didn't say wifaq. But He adds even more on top of this. He says ata'an. Ata is when you give someone something that they don't deserve for no reason, own grandeur. A grant, a gift. This is ata. Like inna a'tainaka al-kawthar. To give someone is one thing. To grant someone, to shower someone with gifts, this is i'ta. So Allah says first of all ata'an. They will be showered with gifts. Then He says hisaban. Hisaban is not, those of you that speak Urdu, don't think of hisab in Urdu hisab. This is something else, hisab. This is explained by Qatada radiallahu anhu, for example, who says, أحسبت فلانا. أحسبت فلانا in Arabic, in Old Arabic, used to mean, I gave someone so much that they said no more, I don't need any more. I don't want any more, I have enough. That point when they reach, you know what they say? They say hisaban. So Allah says He will give so much to the point where the believer will have to say, no more ya Allah, I have enough. So جزاء من ربك عطاء, and then hisaban. May Allah make us worthy of this day. Then finally, now we're coming to the conclusion of the surah. Here it was جزاء من ربك, and then Rabb has been given further another attribute. This is the same Lord, and this is why Rabb is majroor here, Rabbi, because it's the adjective of Rabbika. Okay, Rabbi samawati wal ardi wa ma baynahum ar-Rahman. The Lord of the heavens and the earth and whatever is in between them, Ar-Rahmani. Again, that same Lord happens to be the excessively merciful. Some things you should know about Ar-Rahman as opposed to Ar-Rahim that are very important in the siyaq, in the context of this surah. The word Ar-Rahman is different from Ar-Rahim because Ar-Rahim is called an ism sifa mushabbaha. It's potential. Like I could say about a person, this person is Rahim, which means he's a merciful person. That doesn't mean he's always merciful. That means generally this guy, he's a nice guy, he's a merciful guy. But that doesn't mean each and every moment he is doing something merciful. When Allah speaks of a mercy that He's doing right at the moment, He doesn't use Rahim, He uses Ar-Rahman. So when there's a specific mercy mentioned, then Ar-Rahman is mentioned. Rahim is general, it's potential mercy. Allah is always merciful, yes. But when there's a special occasion of mercy, then Allah doesn't just say Ar-Rahim, He says Ar-Rahman. So Ar-Rahman is used here because the special mercy is being given to the believers on the day of resurrection. They are being given this special Jaza'an min Rabbik. On top of that, what is the Rahmah of Allah? Ata'an and Hisaban. That's why Ar-Rahman is perfectly suited here. So now, and also from the disbeliever side, who will hear this warning from Surah an-Naba, which is very strong, and in the end might lose hope that this, I'm messed up already, I have no hope left. Allah mentions His name, that even this person may have hope in the mercy of Allah, the exceedingly, the unexpectedly merciful. لا يملكون منه خطابا. They will have no control, they will have no ability, no power whatsoever in regards to Him on that day, in terms of addressing Him, in terms of even making a case with even a word in their own favor. لا يملكون منه خطابا. And then this is the case of the kuffar. لا يملكون منه خطابا is for the kuffar. But then Allah says something else. يوم يقوم الروح والملائكة. The day on which الروح by almost ijma', even though there's not entirely ijma', but almost ijma' of the ummah, of the mufassirun, is that it refers to Jibreel alayhi salam every time it's mentioned pretty much in the Quran, except for one or two places. But here, almost ijma' that it is in fact Jibreel alayhi salam. So the day on which Jibreel alayhi salam, ar-ruh will stand, wal malaika, and the angels. So ar-ruh wal malaika. What's interesting is in other places in the Quran, we find the reverse sequence. تنزل الملائكة والروح. Right? تعرج الملائكة والروح إليه في يوم كان مقداره 50,000 سنة. Usually we find the angels and the ruh. The angels and the ruh. Here we find the ruh and the angels. There's a reversal in the sequence. Why? One of the scholars of Balagha, for example, Al-Sha'rawi rahimahullah, commented on this. And he said that whenever you find movement, a lot of movement, then angels are associated with going up and down in constant movement. And there you find malaika mentioned first. And when you find responsibility, then who has the most responsibility among the angels? It is Jibreel alayhi salam, so he is mentioned first. So here, this is the place of the utmost responsibility, standing before Allah on Resurrection Day, so Jibreel alayhi salam has been mentioned first. يَوْمَ يَقُومُ الرُّوحُ وَالْمَلَائِكَةُ. Another benefit of knowing this, by the way, is the mushrikun. Remember we said in the beginning they had different theories about akhirah? One of their theories was, well, the angels will come and save us. Because we worship the angels, they're the daughters of Allah, ma'adallah. And who's the greatest of the angels? Ar-Ruh. Allah says even Ar-Ruh will be standing, and all of the angels will be standing in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, saffan, standing in straight rows, la yatakallamun. They won't be uttering a word. So when they heard the previous ayah, who did not have the ability to speak? The kafir. But they're still hoping maybe the angel will speak for us. In the next ayah, who is not speaking? Not even the angels. لا يتكلمون. They won't be uttering a single word. إلا من أذن له الرحمن. Except for the one who the most merciful has given permission. who the exceedingly merciful, Allah Azza wa Jal, Ar-Rahman, will give permission. وَقَالَ صَوَابًا, and even if he does speak, he will say that which is true. He will say that which is upright. Now here, one thing, qala is not yaqulu. Allah didn't say وَيَقُولُ صَوَابًا. Even though He says يَوْمَ يَقُومُ الرُّوحُ لَا يَتَكَلَّمُونَ مُضَارِعْ, present tense. But he goes back to past tense. This illustrates that even when someone does speak on the Day of Judgment, it won't be long. It'll be very, very brief. They won't get to say much on the Day of Judgment because they will be spoken to rather than them doing the speaking. وَقَالَ صَوَابًا, even if he says something, it'll be upright, straight to the point, and that's it. Now, ذَلِكَ الْيَوْمُ الْحَقِّ. Now, there's three grammatical ways to look at ذَلِكَ الْيَوْمُ الْحَقِّ. One way to look at it is ذَلِكَ is mubtada and al-yawm al-haqq is khabar. What that would mean is that is the true day. The translation would be that is the true day. Another way of looking at it is ذَلِكَ الْيَوْمُ الْحَقِّ. That day is the truth. So ذَلِكَ الْيَوْم is the mubtada and al-haqq is the khabar. And ذَلِكَ الْيَوْمُ الْحَقِّ, the third way of looking at it is there's a hadf here. That, اعلموا هذا or اعلموا هو ذلك يوم الحق, something like this. That you should know that in fact this, what we're talking about, this is that day, that true day that is coming. So it's a fragment altogether. But the rajih, the closest to correct opinion, which is endorsed by the majority of the Ahl Sunnah Mufassirun, is ذَلِكَ الْيَوْم is mubtada and al-haqq is khabar. In other words, that day is in fact the ultimate truth. Usually the predicate, the latter part of an Arabic sentence doesn't have al. So ذَلِكَ الْيَوْمَ حَقٌّ is normal. But if you put al on it, this is hasra. What this means is there's no truth like that day. That day is the ultimate truth. That's what's being said here. فَمَنْ شَاءَ اتَّخَذَ إِلَىٰ رَبِّهِ مَآبًا. Then whoever wants, let him find ma'ab towards his Lord. Let him hold on. Ittakhadha means to hold on to something. Not just to hold, but to hold on to it. So whoever wants, let him hold on to a path that will lead towards his Lord, and it be a ma'ab. Now ma'ab was used already in the surah, right? Allah Azza wa Jalla spoke about Jahannam being ma'ab, right? But now He's speaking about another ma'ab. You want a place of return towards your Lord. That should be your goal in this life. May Allah make us of those who hold on to that ma'ab. So whoever may want, let him find a refuge, find a place of return towards their Lord. And then in conclusion of this surah, Allah Azza wa Jalla says, Inna andarnakum. Allah did not just say andarnakum. Andarnakum means we have warned you. We have warned you. Inna andarnakum means it is no doubt we who have warned you, not anyone else. Okay? This use of inna yadullu ala ghayr al-fa'il. It alludes to another than the fa'il. The kafir thinks Muhammad is warning us, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He doesn't say sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He thinks Muhammad is warning us. Allah is letting him know. It is in fact we no doubt that are warning you, meaning Allah is warning you. Don't think this is warnings of a man. This is the warnings of the Lord of the worlds. Inna anzarnakum adaban qariban, of a punishment that is near. Not of a far off thing. Innahum yarawnahu ba'idan wa narahu qariba. They see it very far away, we see it very close. عذابا قريبا. We said before, remember سيعلمون ثم كلا سيعلمون. The sa was for closeness. The conclusion is also closeness. يوم ينظر المرء ما قدمت يداه. The day on which every single individual person will see whatever their hands sent forward. This is an expression in the Quran commonly misunderstood. In English, simple English, even some person born and raised speaking English, you say whatever their hands sent forward doesn't make sense. So it requires a little bit of explanation. What it means is most of our actions are done by what? Our hands. And when our hands do an action, where does it go? It gets recorded. And then it gets sent forward. So the idea is whatever you've done is basically already been archived and sent on record, and it will be brought out of those archives and displayed before you on a day that is coming ahead. So it's been sent ahead, and when you get ahead to that day, then it will be shown to you. That's the idea behind قَدَّمَتْ يَدَاهُ. So every person will see what both his hands sent forward. وَيَقُولُ الْكَافِرُ. And as a result, the disbeliever will say on that day, in other words, يَا لَيْتَنِي كُنْتُ